people ask me about the mainstream media and the fact that, of course, I work for the mainstream media as well as making reports here over on YouTube. And they'll say, Neil, well, why do you attack the mainstream media? Well, of course, you have to be impartial. You have to tell the stories from both sides of the event. And that's really part and parcel of this job. A lot of people ask me, well, what's the true story about that? I tell you, as I find out, that's the job of the reporter. You should never be bigger than the story. That's what I was always told. But of course, as we've seen for many years now, so many people prefer to be the story. Some people might say the anchors are the superstars of course, the news world. And there's none bigger, some people might suggest, than, say, a few years back, somebody like Matt Lauer, who spectacularly fell from grace for obvious reasons if you want to look them up. And then, of course, you've got people like this, Gayle King. Now, Gayle King is the queen of CBS Breakfast. And what's interesting about this is, well, is she suddenly the queen of CBS Breakfast? Well, not according, of course, to the new bosses that have taken over. Let me explain. Morning, good to see you today, chums, in the basking sunlight glory of London. Yes, spring has sprung. I know I've often said this, but I don't know where my spring's gone, but it certainly needs plugging in. Do you know what I'm saying? Feel exhausted, don't you? Maybe it's the sun what makes you tired and you think, I just want to sit here and enjoy the rays. You do, don't you? This is the thing. Some people, of course, may say that. Some people, like the superstar newsreader, her words, of course, Gayle King should enjoy the rays of her fame and indeed her colossal salary. Gayle, of course, is the main anchor for CBS Mornings. Now, this is not doing particularly well. Let me explain CBS. It's third down the rails. So you've got, Good Morning America, then the Today Show, and then CBS. But this is, of course, the era of when anchors were paid colossal amounts of money, incredible amounts of money. And Gayle King, of course, sees herself up there as one of the great people in the world of journalism. That's her prerogative. One might suggest, of course, the big hoorah recently, about 18 months ago, where Gayle signed on for CNN, if you remember, for her own chat show, interview show. Well, that was going to go great guns. Didn't go that well because CNN decided not to renew it. They say, it was just a fill-in thing. No. If something's successful and you're popular, they sign you again. You get the picture. But over at CBS in 57th Street in New York City, apparently, according to the headlines, things aren't going too well. Gayle's unhappy with her dressing room. She was used to bigger spaces, more luxury at the Broadway Centre. Now, it's interesting, because this is the world we live in. What I find interesting about this particular story, as you can imagine, is the fact that clearly Gayle is still living in the 20th century, where newsreaders were paid a colossal amount of money and they were treated like superstars. New CBS owner Skydance have decided they need to cut their losses and, more importantly, save some money. So that's the reason why they've relocated. Their expensive studio at Broadway is simply too expensive for a show that's simply not putting in the ad revenue or indeed the ratings as ever, allegedly. Now, apparently, according to the headlines, Gayle will walk if she doesn't get what she wants. That could be magic news to the new owners, who have decided that they need to make drastic cuts to their budgets in order to make the CBS-owned station channel show, profitable. Either way, this will be the news that Gayle won't want to make, of course, herself. She likes to break headline news on other people. In fact, stories about how, if you remember, Harry and King Charles were not on great speaking terms. But when it comes to their breaking news on the mainstream media, they like to do everything to keep it under wraps. And that's the beauty of the digital platform and, of course, the new way of consuming news on shows like this. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.